So, what is going on, everyone, and welcome to my official 2025 presidential inauguration live stream. Now, I'm literally just setting this up, but I wanted to make sure that I was going to be live for half past, which it is now half past. I think I started at 29, so I was like, I'll get ahead, might as well. So, let me just make sure everything is perfect. I need to make sure that obviously this is working because this is the live stream. I'm not going to start another one close to the time. I just wanted to have loads of time just to talk, just to be live, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. We're going to be watching the inauguration live on YouTube. I'm going to find the best stream to do that with. I would actually love to be there, but I can't, and so oh well. It's kind of lucky, to be honest, because... Is that working? It is. Nope. Oh, no. Okay, well, that's not great. Let me just fix my tripod here. So, yeah, I would actually, because this is such a huge event, I would love to see an inauguration, and especially this one. If it's anyone's inauguration, it would be this one. I'm going to be 100% honest, because I just think this is going to be sick. So the fact that it's been moved indoors, it's a good thing. Nobody can go over there anyway, really. Nobody's going to be able to see anything. I know what they are doing in one of the arenas. I don't know which one it is. They're basically showing a live stream. So it's basically just a community version of a YouTube stream. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing, or what we're going to be watching now. I have just seen my live stream go live. I've got a load of notifications. I've also got the Wall Street Journal. Also, I've got the AirPlay thing. So I will be able to live stream... Ooh, I will be able to live stream my phone. So that's perfect. I can use this. There's a lot to talk about, and I'm really excited because you know what? President Trump, love him or hate him, he is an absolutely magnetic figure. You do not... I was thinking about this last night. I was watching his sort of rally live. I watched when Lee Greenwood was singing. I didn't watch The Village People. I watched that today. But I was watching when he did his speech, when the president came on and was just talking about a load of things. And also when... the woman, what's her name? I can't remember. Anyway, she was talking about various things. The thing with me is, I don't want to talk too much about politics on this channel, but I will admit that I do 100,000% agree with the common sense arguments that the president has made. 100%. And actually over Kamala Harris's arguments, which she made in the campaign. I'm not massively right-wing, which is why, I can't remember who spoke. Who was the woman who spoke? She was a news anchor. I think she's on Fox. Whoever it was, I didn't agree with a lot of it. Some of it is really dehumanizing. And actually, in the past, I would have leaned more towards the left, right? But a lot of people from the left are now moving towards the right, not because necessarily... Obviously, things are becoming more conservative because things went too progressive in a lot of ways, but they're also staying the way they are. Basically, they would have kept going left if they hadn't gone so far left, is what I'm trying to say. So basically, things that are on the right aren't really hard right, a lot of the issues that I agree with. They're just kind of more slightly conservative kind of things. So a lot of what she was saying, I was a bit like, I don't know about this, but still, I would probably fit a lot better in the Republican Party than I would in the Democratic Party, not only 2024, but also now. So that's where I'm at in terms of a lot of my views. A lot of them I also do share with the Democrats. Gun control, massive one for me. 100% support more gun control, especially as somebody that's not even in the US. I don't need to own a gun, but even if I did, I would probably be very much in favour of gun control because it's just my nature. I don't think guns should have been such a big part of the US and part of the Constitution in the first place. So that is definitely something that I'm in support of. Another thing, free speech. I don't think anybody should be able to say anything. Well, I think they should in concept be able to say anything they want, but I don't think that in reality that really works. So the whole free speech thing, I actually would have gone against it a few years ago, because I was really quite far left in a lot of ways, just because of the social media and stuff. Just kind of those views being put on me, and I was like, yeah, I agree with that, but only to a degree, and I realised how far I actually did agree with these things. Anyway, so free speech, I actually think it's a great thing that it's coming back. You know, the community notes, I did a short about this, and I was kind of like, is it a good thing, is it a bad thing? I was kind of processing it at the time. Obviously, it's a great thing, in the way that, you know, I have been, you know, I think everyone has been on platforms like Twitter, sort of shot down for various things, whether trivial or not. Like, that happens a lot, and it didn't need to, and the community notes thing is there to change that. And the thing is, community notes have worked. I don't know why people on the left can genuinely say that an appointed fact checker is better than a community fact checker, because yes, community notes can get things wrong, and that, you know, wrong answer can just shoot up to the top and be the ranking answer, right? That can be the community note. But it can also be the case that fact checkers can be biased, and then, you know, their views, there's no contention to that, there's no contest, they go right to the top, whether biased or not, and there's no community input on that whatsoever. It's literally just one person's view against a crowdsourced opinion. I believe that the crowdsourced one is better. I don't know, really, I don't get other people's arguments on this one, in the same way. So yeah, you know, the fact checking thing, that I definitely agree with the community notes on. So there's a lot of things. And obviously immigration, deportation stuff, it's a hard one, isn't it? It's a very hard line. I'm not going to go over every one of my views, but definitely I think that, you know, mass deportation, there's a reason that is so, you know, so difficult. But also, a lot of people voted for it, so it's an interesting one. It's not something that I personally have to deal with, the sort of immigration thing. Even in the UK, it doesn't really affect me where we sort of live. But yeah, that's I can see why that is more of a contentious issue. But interestingly, he won on that issue pretty massively. So, you know, Democrat policies clearly weren't working, letting people across the border. I don't agree with that, just like letting anyone across the border. But also, you've got to be conscious. You've got to be controlled. And what I think that the president will represent, which is something that I would not have necessarily said in 2020, is strength. Because Biden has seemed just, I don't even know how to, I genuinely, I'm trying to find a word here, but he has not seemed even remotely presidential. Also, I don't know why my screen's flashing, by the way. I'm going to fix that right now. It keeps flashing black, doesn't it? So I'm just going to kind of show my screen over here so I can catch it flashing black. Because if it keeps doing it, I'm going to have to sort something out. But yeah, he's just not seemed presidential. He seemed like he was just completely out of it for the majority of the time. He seemed like he was out of control. He seemed like he didn't know what he was doing. Even though I watched his interview a few days ago with someone, I can't remember what outlet it was, I think it was MSNBC or something, and it actually showed a completely different side to him. However, we all saw the debate, we all know how he actually was in public, and he did not project strength. And a lot of the left policies that he enacted seem like, you know, they're not the kind of thing that I follow. You know, I follow common sense on the left and the right. So, you know, gay marriage and stuff, to me, is common sense, right? So that's a left perspective. But there's also the perspectives that are part of, you know, the LGBT community, where it's just like, you can call yourself whatever, you can mandate that on whatever, and everyone just has to accept it. And I agree with the feeling of being able to feel, you know, whatever you do feel. I think a person can feel like they can express themselves in loads of different ways, essentially. You don't have to be, purely masculine, purely feminine. That's ridiculous, right? Common sense, again. But I also don't think you should be able to mandate it on people, and that's another freedom of speech thing. It's a very tenuous thing for me. It goes both ways. So anyway, my head during the election was thinking Kamala, even though I wasn't going to vote anyway. But my intuition was not, because I didn't agree with a lot of the policies that she was putting out, and I didn't believe that her record and Biden's record were even remotely, the thing is, like, celebrities and everyone were kind of painting it as like a sure thing, but it wasn't. Her record was not good enough to be a sure thing, just to you get her straight in the door, not even think about anything else. And I think a lot of people thought that as well. I think from the outside, people saw things over the past year, but I'd been watching since 2021. I remember when I was 17, 16, watching, just after they came into office, because I was 16 when they were elected and sworn in, the Biden administration, which is over in, how long? Less than 2 hours, which is kind of crazy, an hour and 19 minutes or so. I was 16, and I remember literally following the news at the time, because I've always been interested in this stuff. And I actually thought at the time a lot of things that were very sort of more left liberal. I also thought that Donald Trump should not be re-elected. In my head anyway. I thought, after everything he's done, how could he justify being re-elected? And I also don't believe in the big lie, the election lie. He obviously lost that election. If he presented evidence, it would be irrefutable, if that evidence was real. But he never has, so therefore, we have to err on the side that it's a lie, right? It is a lie. Also, it is still flashing, but it's not flashing often, so I think it's okay. It's annoying, and I don't know where it's coming from, but I'm just going to have to deal with it. Also, I've tried something out. I want to see if you guys can see this. On my screen here, so you can still see and hear me, which is perfect. I've got this thing called NVIDIA video effects, this thing. And it's supposed to be cinematic mode. I was trying to sort of blur myself out, my background, so I could actually make this look a bit more professional for this stream, but it's just not going to happen. I tried to install it a few times, and it keeps bringing up these random errors, so it's a shame, but I can't use it. Anyway, so yeah, my intuition was actually leaning, even despite all of the really negative things, because this man, Donald Trump, has said and done things that are very much questionable. Very, very much. And he did not make all the right decisions in his presidency. But then again, neither did the Biden administration. And also they put themselves on a moral high ground, which I think was deserved in the beginning, but I don't think it necessarily kept that way. Once they actually started to do the things that they said they were going to do, they kind of almost leveled out in a lot of ways to how every other politician acts. And so their sort of moral high ground seemed a bit sort of thin. They were a bit like, well, why are you painting yourself as massively different when you're not? Anyway, it is a shame that obviously Biden's dropped out and that Kamala Harris didn't win, because in a lot of ways, if she'd have won, and we'd have been watching, her inauguration right now. I'm not going to go on about it being the first woman inauguration, whatever, because it's obviously a big thing, but it shouldn't matter. Obviously, it should be on her merits, and we would have been witnessing a very big moment for her, including as a woman. Actually, thinking about it, but yeah. Anyway, it would have been. I honestly think it would have been pretty okay. As long as they didn't go further left with the policies, which, again, we could go around in circles for ages, but she could have enacted a load of things, and the Democratic Party, basically, because obviously it's not her doing everything, but the party could have just got even more power. And really, the world has given in the past year a wake-up call to politicians to not take things in that direction. And I think that's what this is in a lot of ways. And I do think common sense won, and I was very glad. And also, I've just always, he's always been magnetic to me, Donald Trump has. He's always been this kind of figure where I've been like, I don't know what it is. Ever since I was like 11, I remember going past one of his towers in Las Vegas. He's always had this like sort of star power. So he is really a magnetic figure. You don't get this. This is the kind of event that we'll only see a couple of times in my lifetime. So yeah, this really is a once in a generation thing, and I'm very glad I'm kind of watching it live. So yeah, honestly, when he won, I was both like, you know, I guess I thought it was a good thing in a lot of ways, but also, you know, my head was like, well, not necessarily. We'll see. We'll see how it goes out anyway. We'll see how it plays out. I know he's a very volatile person. I know the reasons why I thought in 2020 he should leave office, because he was a bit of a, you know, a bit chaotic, honestly, in the last days, which is the same reasons why you just got to hope that things don't kind of get that tense again, because that's probably one of the main issues with him, because he is a very volatile person. I think most of his issues sort of come down to that. He says and he does what he thinks, and that can be both a great thing and a very negative thing. And I sort of err on the side of it's a good thing, because you don't see the negative thing as often, but it can happen. And hopefully that won't happen this presidency. I think, personally, this could be a really, really positive thing, though. This presidential election, which is why I'm really excited, which is why, in the end, when he got elected, I was like, yeah, this is what I actually thought should happen. This is actually what I wanted to happen. So let's see anyway. Let's get the live stream up. You'll probably see as well, I have had so many comments over the past sort of year or so. I remember in oh, interesting, backup stream. We want this one though. I have had so many things over the past year where it's been I'm just going to start again. I was watching so many videos, literally from, I remember when he was going on about, you know, ending the Ukraine war, all those things, in probably 2023. And I started to think, because I had thought, you know, again, in my head, I was like, logically, this guy shouldn't run again. I was still in the exact same frame of mind. But I also knew, because I remember from 2021, how the withdrawal was handled by the Biden administration, that they weren't much better either. And, you know, I actually stand on the side of, I want wars to end. I don't want wars to even begin in the first place. I do not understand how we can call ourselves, you know, a democratic and all these different things world, you know, civilized, when the first thing that most countries will do in order to gain power or keep power or whatever is kill. Go straight to war. I don't understand how wars even begin in this day and age. So I am definitely in the camp of end wars now. Literally just right now. Don't even start them. So that's why when, you know, Biden and his administration were focusing more on sending money over to Ukraine as opposed to ending the war, I was just like, what? Are you not going to put any effort into this, you know, trying to actually achieve a diplomatic solution? Because obviously they just kept saying, you know, it will just hand everything over to Russia. But it doesn't necessarily have to, does it? You know? So, yeah, it's a pretty scary one, where the world is more interested in supporting and sending money over as opposed to actually just trying to achieve a two-sided solution. So that was another thing. And I remember him saying, you know, he'll end it on day one, which he obviously is not going to do, because either this is day one or tomorrow's day one, whatever you count it to be, and it's not going to end. But, that was one of the first things where I was like, he's speaking sense, he's speaking sense. And, then they just kept coming, and it was a very countercultural thing last year to even agree with what he was saying in a lot of ways. You don't have to agree with everything, but a lot of things. And it was just like, this guy makes a lot of sense. And we'll see how much of it comes out, because again, he's a very volatile person, and he said a lot. He's still not publicly said that Project 2025 should happen, and hopefully it won't. I actually haven't read it, but I've heard it's very bad. And I can imagine, honestly, a lot of the things will not be, because again, it's very hard right stuff, and I don't agree with the hard right on almost anything, really. So in that case, I don't think I'd agree with it. But anyway, hopefully none of that will happen, but it could. He does backtrack on things. I think he's just a really unconventional person. I think the establishment and convention, I'm always going to admire people who are unconventional, who challenge the status quo, because I always find them interesting. I always find them sort of magnetic and all that kind of thing. And I want them to succeed. And so I want him to succeed in, after today. So we'll see what happens. I could, because again, during the election I was 50-50, probably leaning towards the Republican side, but then again I was just like, there are so many arguments against him being re-elected as well. But I was like, that is more so what I'd want. So we'll see. Was my intuition correct? That's all I'm going to say. Was my intuition correct? Because that's where I was leaning the whole time. Eventually I saw enough things and I was like, this is it. This makes sense. Because again, I'm not massively against, gender expressions and all that kind of thing. But there's a line. And there's common sense. And it all led me in this direction. And we'll see what happens. Because I'm not massively far right. As I've said, I'm not hard right. I'm also not far left. I'm very much centre. So we'll see if my sort of ideas were correct or not. So, with that little introduction, I'm going to turn on my lamp, and as you can tell, there's nothing going on there. So should we read Twitter, which is something I don't really like opening because it is really far right now, just as it was really far left before. And actually I can handle it more now than I could then, but it's still like your brain feels like it is melting when you go on here. Like it is not, it does not put you in a good mental sort of headspace reading Twitter, just as it didn't before. So we're going to go ahead and go on to here, see if I can cast to this. There we go. So there's my little warning, but I can get rid of that. I'll put it on the screen and you can't see it at all. So see this is the kind of thing. Oh, interesting. Oh no, this is actually far left. I thought this was going to be something else. Not far left, but this is on the left. I'm gonna make some mistakes today, guys. I'm not, obviously when I'm looking at something and talking at the same time, I'm gonna not realise what I'm saying sometimes. It could be true, to be fair. Although I was reading a thing today about the Village People, about how they're not actually a gay band. Like a couple of the members are, or one of the members are, whatever. Don't quote me on that, but they're not exclusively gay sort of oriented. The song wasn't supposed to be about that necessarily, or something. I don't know. Don't quote me on it again, but I definitely read an article to do with that kind of thing. Oh wow, this is actually really interesting, isn't it? What I'm seeing here is a load of sort of more left-wing stuff, which I was not expecting, because that's not what I typically see when I come on here, which is not very often. Oh, you know what happened though? Now this is interesting. Anthony Fauci 2 words. He's been pardoned by Biden in his last remaining hours in office, which is a massive red flag to me. Because what could he have possibly done to deserve that pardon? Let me tell you what my thing is on vaccines, because I was never anti-vax, but I was anti-force people to take the vaccine and like shove it in their faces until they do. Because here's the thing, everyone should have, in my opinion, taken the vaccine. I don't think it should have been a massive thing to a degree, and I did take the vaccine. I had 2 shots. I didn't want the second. I kind of had to be forced by the government to, so I could go on holiday, because I'm not a needle person at all. I can't, it's not a thing, right? But I knew I wanted to take it, and what's interesting is I actually got the virus after getting the vaccine anyway, so it didn't do anything for me, but there we are. But I got it. I was always going to get it, and it's died. Obviously, I did turn off my phone, so I'm not exactly surprised. But yeah, I didn't get the anti-vax argument. I was just like, why are people like Ben Shapiro making such a massive deal about this at the time? But I do think, after what's come out about the vaccines, some of them not being necessarily as safe as, you know, they would have been if they'd had more sort of testing and stuff, the fact that they were forced into people, essentially, that's not so good. But again, I took it, and I was always going to take it, and not just because I had to. I don't even know when I took it. I think it was 2021 that I got the vaccine, and I don't think they were even mandating it at that time, but they might have been. But I was always going to anyway. But let's see. Oh, this is interesting. See, here's the thing. Biden he's very gracious as a person. And I think we're seeing a lot more of Biden, like of the person Biden. And we have seen more of Biden in the last sort of months of his presidency, more so than like ever in sort of recent times. And he's shown himself to be very gracious, and it's interesting. It's interesting how, you know, all the leaders of the Democratic Party actually do tend to just, at least on a sort of friendly level, get on with Trump, which is, yeah, it's an interesting one. Anything else? I've got a load of wicked stuff. I'm not bothered about that. I'm not looking at that. Last selfie is the sitting president. It's interesting. See, this is exactly what I see whenever I come on here. It's just unconstructive, worst president in American history. It's crazy. I do think some of the things that they made him do were elder abuse. Like some of the things that supposedly he had to do. Who knows? I mean, he could have been completely cognitively there the whole time, but some things told you that maybe that wasn't the case. I guess we'll find out in time. History usually corrects itself. Usually we find out the history books will probably have some kind of context written in that I don't know right now, that we didn't know back then, but it didn't look like he was all there, and it did look like he was being put up to things, to be honest. I always thought it, and I'm being very sort of grounded as much as I can in this stream, which is why I'm having to choose my words, but genuinely I don't think he was all there, and I'm very glad that the Democratic Party didn't win for that reason, because if he would have been on the ticket, I don't think he should have been on the ticket, basically. And obviously Kamala Harris was just anointed without a primary. That's dodgy, but you know, at least better than, you know, Biden being on the ticket when we have massive questions about his ability. And here's the thing as well, the left don't do very, you know, well for themselves, go and, you know, get Trump to take a cognitive test, when clearly this is just who he is and who he has always been. You know, he's not losing it. he's not showing those kinds of signs of cognitive decline, in my opinion. He's not borderline, you know, got dementia. He's just acting how he always does. And, I think he went on a bit of a spiral in 2020. That's just how he does things. And that's not cognitive decline in the same way as Biden did. And like, people, going, he's worse. No, he isn't. Clearly he's not. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. That's not good. We'll just see. We'll just see how it all goes. We'll see how it pans out. Louis Vuitton CEO. All of the people kissing the ring, right? All the people kind of come into the inauguration and like meeting with him, with the president. So all the CEOs, Tim Cook, all those people. Some of them I do think are kissing the ring, right? As people have said in the media and stuff. But people like Mark Zuckerberg, you can clearly see he was not happy, enforcing all the left-wing stuff the whole time. He's a fighter, first of all. I'm not a fighter. I'm not in any of that kind of realm. But usually they kind of lean towards the right. He seems a lot more grounded and comfortable as a person now that he's kind of moving in this direction anyway. So I don't actually understand how people are saying he's specifically sort of doing this just for the money. He probably is doing, sending campaign funds and whatever, inauguration funds for, benefits and money. But I don't think he's changing for that reason. I actually do think he believes in it. Some people maybe not so much. Elon Musk as well. I actually do think he means what he says, even if a lot of what he says is kind of insane. But he means it. I don't have any sort of doubt in that. Anyway, we've got one more hour. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. Let me get my. Hang on. We've got some action on the stream. So people are starting to arrive. That's what I was seeing on Twitter. The Louis Vuitton CEO, this guy. And there's Tim Cook. This seems a lot more disingenuous, doesn't it? Because Apple is a left-wing leaning company. And they've done a lot of things that are very left-wing leaning, right? A lot of things that I agree with. Also a lot of things I don't. But he's there. He doesn't appear to have any kind of motives to be there. But I don't know. Who knows? Honestly, the whole climate of the world is changing. Literally, climate change is a thing. That's another thing. Like, I agree with the Democrats on that one. But also their policies were very much, let's just put climate change above everything else. It's, again, a complicated one. But with him, maybe he believes what he says. Maybe he believes that, this is a good thing. Climate-wise, political kind of zeitgeist, cultural, everything like that. Who knows? We won't know until time shows us how serious all these people are. Because, left-wing ideologies are just ideologies, same as right-wing ones. So you can agree with them. It's not like one of them is right and wrong. You can change your beliefs. All of these people could have done. But then again, some of them seem like, maybe they wouldn't have done so easily. I don't know about Tim Cook. We'll have to see. So who can we recognise? I think I just saw Donald Jr., but we'll see. Obviously, we've seen Tim Cook. This is really interesting. So is this inside of the Capitol? I actually don't know. Obviously, I don't know that kind of thing, but that looks to be Mark Zuckerberg. There we go. So there's Zuckerberg. He's always been someone that's just been hilarious to make fun of, honestly, but he's actually pretty cool nowadays. He looks a lot better anyway. We've got Bezos and we've got Elon Musk. We've got the kind of the oligarchy right there. And I'm not making fun of that. I do think, I think, again, Elon Musk is in this for his own reasons. I think he believes in this stuff that he's saying, but it will benefit him. And so he is, by definition, part of an oligarchy. I don't necessarily think that it is purely for that reason, though, because I do think he believes in what he's saying. So, interesting. I do think everyone else playing pylon, Bezos and everyone, kind of, it doesn't look so good for them, does it? Because they haven't shown themselves to be this kind of inclined in the past. I remember literally reading in university, I was sat in like the common area reading a news article about how he wasn't going to endorse Kamala, but his paper would have done, right? So he's never been this sort of inclined. So that shows as being more kind of money oriented. He's not outspoken about these views. So yeah, that is more of what I'm concerned about. That's the oligarchy I'm concerned about, because at least with Elon Musk, he's actually trying to add to the argument, whether you like him or not, and whether you like his opinions or not. He seems to at least believe in what he's saying. The Tommy Robinson stuff is crazy. Like, this is the founder of the EDL, and you're trying to replace Nigel Farage, literally the founder of the Reform Party, in his own party. What are you saying? Like, that's crazy. You can't justify everything that these people say, is what I'm trying to say. But I don't know. Still excited about this. It's a massive event as well. It really is just a massive event, and I'm excited to see it. So these look like the justices of something. I actually can't remember what the Supreme Court justices look like, so I'm just going to assume that's what they are. Some of them looking pretty old. Let's move my camera over a little bit so you can see me a bit better. That should do, hopefully. I should probably move my thing over to this screen, actually. Let me see if I can do that. So you can still hear me and see me, but I can watch it on this screen, so hopefully I'm kind of like, I look like I'm looking more towards the camera, maybe? That should do. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe that looks worse. I don't know. But yeah, people are finally arriving. I don't really know why I'm watching this right now, because, I mean, there's still another 50 minutes. But yeah. Remains to be seen how this will all pan out. How much of the good common sense stuff will sort of come through, and how much of the stuff that I didn't agree with will actually turn out to be really quite bad. But I still think that some of the stuff that the left was planning to do could have gone very much the same way. So, honestly, I'm not going to take any heat for saying that this could be a good thing, because it definitely could be. It's not, exclusively going to be a bad thing. It definitely could be, but who knows? Who knows? We don't know yet. And I was more likely to give him another chance, ever so slightly, literally just slightly, because of I agreed with a lot of the issues more. Anyway, let's go on Minecraft for a bit. Now, what am I building? What have I been building lately? So, I don't know if I've been on this world on the stream before. I think I've kind of gone over what this is before. I think I said, and I don't remember if I kind of just left it to. I think I said, guess what this is, what film this is from, or whatever. So I don't know whether to say. I have been working on it though. If you watch the film, it's on Netflix. It's very popular. And you guess, leave it in the comments. It's like one of the sort of biggest films for teens of all time, basically. And for just like young people, generally. It's like a coming of age film that's like huge. Got my little train station. I was working on this recently. This world, for context, I made in 2019 when I was 14. And I've been working on it since. I got it back. Like I got the, because I always wanted to come back to this when I got like a better computer. And I got it back when I was, how old? 18, I think. I started working on it again. And now I'm 20. So, yeah. I've added a load of things, like, and also like over here. I've just been working on these. I literally built these as garages for like all the different houses, because this was originally going to be like a housing estate. And I've literally converted them all into houses 5 years later, almost 6 years later. So that's something that's definitely changed. They're like little apartments, they're not actual houses, obviously. This is a garage. My TV's trying to shut itself down, which I definitely don't want, and it's done it anyway, because I clearly didn't hit that button hard enough. And it's still not turning back on. You know what, I'm not going to play this, because it's I don't even want to play it anyway. I'll play it on stream when I actually like want to, but at the minute, I'm not bothered. So people are still arriving. I'm not going to turn the sound on, and I don't think I even could anyway. I don't think I've got like a desktop audio capture thing in OBS at the minute. I just need to add that, but I don't want to. I don't want it to go wrong. What's this? How to remove NVIDIA Broadcast, and that's this. Because I was trying to reinstall it, because I think I installed the one for like the wrong generation of graphics card, and then when I did it for the right one, it just didn't work anyway. So that's a shame. What else could I do for the next little while? I guess I could go over Biden's side of things, because there's a lot of things that one thing that I'm going to miss is the kind of decent side of politics. I do think he wasn't a great example in the end, because he just was so old, and he seemed so sort of malleable. Like, it seemed like everybody could puppeteer him essentially, but I don't think he's always been like that. And especially if you look back at his older clips, some of them, not even that long ago, he was going on about like, I don't like gay marriage and stuff, which, yeah, definitely do not agree with that one. But you know, a lot of the things that he said were kind of, you know, he seemed like a sort of a reasonable, honourable guy in a lot of ways. And it's just a shame that he showed his age so badly. Because he really did. Even from day one. Like, on day one, January the 20th, 2021, he was showing his age. And it's a real shame. But there's been things that he's done that have definitely impacted positively. I'm trying to think of like some of those things. But yeah, also the pardoning of Hunter Biden, that's pretty dodgy. If there was a chat, if there was like actually people in here, I'd definitely kind of ask what people think about that one, because I personally think it's an injustice. Especially considering Trump was prosecuted, why can't Biden's son be? Right? Why can't we find out what he was doing, what he was getting up to? Especially considering like the talk about the big man, right? You know, I mean, Trump's was about falsifying business records. People go on about it being like to do with Stormy Daniels specifically, but it was actually to do with the business records, right? So yeah, I think the Biden family should have been investigated in the same way. And it does seem really dodgy. But, I mean, yeah, oh well. Was that Mike Pence? I can kind of just recognise his silhouette. Yep, it is as well. That is insane. That is insane. You know what really irks me about Donald Trump? He still won't accept that he lost in 2020. He still won't accept it. And he still won't even, like, give any, sort of lend any kind of, I don't know, anything towards that. 4 or 5 years later, he still could not say that we don't have evidence, or our evidence isn't strong enough, you know, to actually reveal and kind of show whatever, you know. Oh, here we go, Bill Clinton and Hillary. You know, in 2016, I was leaning right, not because I was a Republican or anything, or even thinking in a right-wing sense, because I always thought it'd be so funny to have the Apprentice guy, you know, the guy from, you know, the towers and things, as the President of the United States. And so, yeah. Hillary was an interesting one. She did those Vine videos and stuff, which were decently funny, but also she did seem kind of robotic doing it. But yeah, it is a shame she never got there, but also maybe not. There's things that have come out about her as well, but you don't know how many of those things are true. Just like the Hunter Biden thing, we don't know if it's true. We never will know. There's W. Bush and Laura Bush. A person we won't see there is Michelle Obama, and you know what? I don't understand why everyone says she should run for president, because clearly she doesn't want to run for president. If she did, she probably would have done it this time instead of Kamala Harris. But she didn't. And also, she's the first lady. They don't say that all the other first ladies should run for president. I think because she is such a smart and put together woman, that's why people say it. But what inclination has she ever given? I don't know. Maybe she said point blank on some kind of TV appearance on maybe, I don't know, The View, I'm gonna run for president. But I don't know why people are so obsessed with that idea. But who else have we got? Barack Obama. I always thought he was such a cold guy. Here he is. No way. That is so cold. He's walking in on his own. The thing is, he said something in the 2024 election season which I didn't agree with. It was something like, you need to be thinking about what you're doing if you're not voting Kamala, whatever. But he wasn't. He sounded really out of touch saying it. He sounded like he was genuinely like not considering why people might be thinking to vote the other way. Because yes, I don't support an abortion ban. I don't. But also, people might not support, a lot of issues that the Democrats are pushing that, for example, I don't know, let me think of one. Like, sort of, gender confirmation things. I think a person should be able to sort of express themselves and be whoever they are, but people don't necessarily want sort of gender ideology teaching to their kids and all that kind of thing, right? And, in much the same way, I don't think we were really taught sort of LGBT things in school 10 years ago when I was in primary school. Not even 10 years ago. 10 years ago. But yeah, I think there's a lot of issues, and he didn't really consider it. He sounded out of touch. But I don't think that's necessarily how he has always been. I think he's always been a very, very strong speaker, and I do think he's going along with now's talking points, at least on the left. I don't necessarily think he would have said the same things he wouldn't have done. I think he. What did he say about gay marriage in 2008? Who knows? Anyway, it proves that people's opinions can change and their sort of thoughts can change. But I do think he was always a very strong speaker. I definitely would have voted for Obama if I was voting for anyone in 2008 and 2012. Because I always thought, even at the time, I visited the US when Obama, it was like in the last 6 months of his, actually I think it was in the last maybe 12 months of his presidency, last year. And yeah, I always thought he looked like a good president. He always was probably my favourite, looks wise anyway. He just looked presidential and powerful and like a strong leader. And he was also like personable. Like that's something that's a massive thing for leaders. And I don't think Kamala Harris really had it. She did to a degree. I think Tim Walz had it more than she did, to be honest. And I liked Tim Walz as well. I thought he was. I think some of the sort of issues that people were like, he said things, he's made mistakes, he sounds like an idiot, we can't trust him. I don't know why people were holding everything against him, to be honest. I think some of the times he misspoke. Yeah, he should have corrected himself and not dug himself more into that hole. But also, yeah, it was a shame that there's Barron. He's I think 2 years younger than me, or 1.5 years. It's interesting. I think it was December 2005, was he, or something like that? Maybe it was 2006. Let's have a look. March. Okay, so he's 1.5 years younger. Interesting. So in March this year, he turns 19. I'll be 21 in September, so that's a long way away. Here we got the whole family. It's interesting seeing nobody talking to each other. But yeah, no, I actually thought Tim Walz could be quite strong, and almost like a good successor to Harris if she won. You know, I thought he looked quite good to be president in the future. Looked quite strong. And he didn't seem to be as ideology driven as she did, although I don't know if I've just not seen enough clips. There's Kai. Maybe he was just the same, who knows. I didn't watch too much on that side at the time. A lot of things I did see just kind of annoyed me. Especially all the celebrities and the talk show hosts just assuming that people should vote a certain way and that they should think a certain way. Really annoying. So what we got? We got Eric, we got Donald Jr., Ivanka, we got the whole family, we got the spouses. Who's that in the front? I actually don't know who that lady in the red dress is. Some guy's taking some photos with his phone. He looks well out of place doing that. And that guy grinning with his phone on the right. It's really interesting, this is. I think from an optics point of view, for somebody that is such an optics focused person, he should have had it outside. I don't know what the weather's like there though. Should we have a look? Because it was supposed to be really cold, wasn't it? So that was supposed to be the reason why. But Washington, I can't see very well what I'm typing. Washington DC weather. -3. Okay, no, definitely don't hold it outside. But yeah, from an optical point of view, it seems less strong not to have this massive sort of imposing crowd, you know. And also, do I think he's going to be a dictator on day one and a fascist and all these things? That really turned me off from Kamala Harris and that kind of thing, because I believed that he was, you know, his character could sort of go in sort of directions that, you know, might be described as fascism and stuff like that by some people. I always believed that from 2020 onwards. But I didn't need telling. I don't think a lot of people needed telling. They were just like, okay, thank you. I'm going to tune out now because this is all you've got to say. When she started her campaign, she started strong. She was talking about joy. She was talking about unity. It was a very Obama-esque message. It was good. It was strong. It was positive. Then she starts going, I'm going to anoint all of my sort of views and values onto you. There's Doug Emhoff and Jill Biden. Interesting. And I'm going to anoint you with all these views, and I'm going to call the other guy a fascist and all these other things, and you're just going to not vote for him because of those things, not because you're voting for me, and that was a massive mistake again. She didn't do herself any favours, let's just say that. She didn't do herself any favours because she wasn't really putting herself forward. But then again, she only ran a 6-month protracted campaign. She wasn't even put up for it. So, you know, she wasn't like voted for it. She was just kind of just put in place. So to a degree, you've got to have a massive amount of slack for Kamala. But like the campaign that she did run was not good. It was not good. And it didn't show her in the greatest light in a lot of ways. I definitely think she should have just carried on with the message she had at the start. That would have been really positive. She maybe could have gotten closer to winning. Closer to. She still wouldn't have won. Like, looking at the state of how things turned out, she still would not have won. Oh, and I can talk about this as well, because this is like a political sort of focused event. We can just talk about other things that happened over the year. The Biden thing where he said like Trump supporters are garbage or trash or whatever. He was clearly saying that they are trash or garbage or whatever. He was clearly saying that. And I'm pretty sure, and I don't know, so don't quote me on this, but I think the comedian at the Madison Square Garden rally, which a lot of people tend to speak for the president, which they get kicked out for doing eventually, but he was speaking on behalf of the whole party, and I think it was a joke about the actual cleanliness of the country, which was still distasteful, but I don't think he was actually calling the people trash. I don't know, don't quote me on it. Anyway, Biden clearly said that his supporters were trash. He clearly, because what else was he going to say? I think he said something. I think the excuse was like, his supporters is trash, which just doesn't. No, it doesn't work. It was clearly false. It was clearly not the case. But nice try, guys. Nice try. The Democratic Party just came across as arrogant and deceptive in the end. And I think that's what turned me off, because they were arrogant and I didn't necessarily agree with all of their views, and it made me disagree with them even more because, because they spoke a certain way. It didn't come across well. Anyway, how long until the inauguration? 35 minutes. 35 minutes. Is that Newt? Certainly looks like it, doesn't it? I actually recognise the faces of a lot of people here. Surprisingly. Also don't recognise a lot of people, but I'll tell you what, in 2020 when I was watching the Biden inauguration, because I was delivering my paper round then, when I was watching that, I was watching it through the windows of other people's houses, and I came home when he was making his speech, and then Lady Gaga performed. It all just seemed really depressing. Like, it's like one performance, I think, from one person, Lady Gaga, who, not a massive fan of her music. Some of it is pretty good, but generally, yeah, it was really just quite moody. It was just like a depressing inauguration. I think wasn't helped by the fact that Trump just literally just jetted off and was like, yeah, I'm not turning up. But I just think generally they didn't make it look very exciting. There was no real excitement in that. It was very sort of humble, but it wasn't joyful. So yeah, I ended up coming home and watching that last bit at home, I think, on the TV. Oh, my microphone cable is getting caught up. I hope everything's still working. Baron needs to get rid of that trim, man. It looks terrible. He really does. Like, obviously it looks smart, but like, he's our age. Get rid of it, man. Get rid of it. Right. There's Musk. Oh, hang on. Is that Sundar Pichai, the Google CEO? Pichai. I think it is. See who else I can spot. There's Tiffany. Is that right? I don't know, because I don't really know what she looks like, but I think it is. Interesting. I think Biden also pardoned, what's her name? The one that he doesn't like. The Republicans don't like. Or it's the MAGA Republicans. What is her name? Liz Cheney. He pardoned her. And that seems slightly dodgy, but also I can't see why he would have even pardoned her in the first place. Also, look outside. Look at this. The windows are like this. They've got this beautiful red reflection. So nice. This is golden hour. I've been staying in today doing schoolwork and staying in for this. But tomorrow I'm going to be going out. But I haven't actually been out today. So, yeah, it's quite nice to see. I'd imagine the sky's going to be really beautiful by the kind of middle of this stream. Which it probably is the middle now, actually. Let's see. So, yeah, I've been on for 59 minutes. I'll probably be on for another maybe hour or so. So this is pretty much dead centre. So maybe in sort of 20 minutes time it will be really nice. I'll show you again if it is. But now I'm just waiting, really. Again, I am sad that the Biden presidency is coming to an end. I'm also sad that there's nothing to like. There's no massive event to look forward to as well, because this is exciting. Any inauguration is really exciting for me, anyway. So I won't be able to kind of look forward to it. But I'm glad to be. I'm glad I'm sort of streaming. I really am. For the record, I absolutely would have watched the Kamala Harris one as well. Of course I would. I'm just generally interested in these things. Probably wouldn't have felt so good about it. In some ways, I would have felt better because, you know, the left-leaning policies that I agreed with would have been carried on. But there was less of them, I think. I think that's mainly my issue. If they could make their argument better and they had better arguments, I definitely would have felt better for that side, but no. But no. And the main thing was the volatility of Donald. So if that turns out to be, you know, better this time around, then, well, maybe he's been vindicated in a lot of ways. But we'll see. We'll see. That was the main thing for me, anyway. One of the main things that were kind of against him. It's interesting being like an outsider kind of observer. I do, in a lot of ways, sort of identify with American ideals and things. I am, in a lot of ways, very similar to an American person, just not born in America, although I almost was. I was almost born in San Francisco. My dad almost took a job over there, and he would have, well, I would have been born there. It was like literally when I was about to be born. But no, I'm not. But I think, especially with social media and YouTube and things, oh my gosh, it's getting even redder. But especially with social media and YouTube and things, American culture has definitely come down and come across. Probably with me more than a lot of people in a lot of ways. Oh my gosh, look at that. I looked golden just then. It's amazing. Also, if you're wondering what's going on with my hair, it's purely because, as I said, I'm just growing it out. I'm just seeing what I can do with it. There's not much I can really do about my hair, unfortunately. This looks interesting, doesn't it? Obviously, at some point people stopped filtering in and this guy started singing. So right now the current president is Biden, right? Still. Like, officially, legally, everything. So let's have a look at Wikipedia. Let's do Joe Biden. I should have just clicked on the Joe Biden link because I was going to type in the president or Joe Biden. So here we go. So it says, who has been the 46th and current president since 2021. So that will change in half an hour's time. We're going to leave that open and come back to it. Also, we want to have a look at the president. So that's also here. So we will have a look at that again in a minute. We'll do Donald Trump. Where is he? He'll be down here, won't he? Where is he? He'll be like the predecessor one. Where does it say? Preceded by? I don't know. I guess I'll just have to type him in. So we'll come back to this in a minute. You know, with Biden as well, he really shows his age. Like, a lot of other people, his age and Trump's age, Trump doesn't seem like his age finally is catching up to him. Like, I actually thought he looked older in 2020 in a lot of ways. He still looks a lot older and he acts younger and acts a lot younger than his age. There's JD Vance, that's the vice president, for anyone who isn't politically aware. I don't know why you wouldn't be after today, especially if you're watching it as a sort of a VOD. You would definitely know that, surely. But from other countries, you wouldn't necessarily know that. Anyway, yeah, he acts so much younger than his age. He's one of those people. There's quite a few of them at the minute. But he acts a lot younger than his age. Biden always... He acted like somebody of his generation anyway, but he can barely, like, speak anymore. And he could make arguments. Biden in 2012, he was a force. I'll tell you that. Like even as recently as 2012, he was a force to be reckoned with. 2019, I was already seeing it. As a 15, 16-year-old, I could see that he was losing it, and he, the arguments against his kind of mental state, even then before he was elected, were kind of valid. But yeah, he's lost it in a lot of ways now. He can't get his points across. He can't speak in the same way that he could. He can't think in the same kind of way. He can clearly think. He's clearly done a lot of sort of serious, just sort of mental. I don't know. He's done a lot of thinking in this presidency. But there we go. There's Schumer. No Pelosi, because I don't think she's coming, is she? But yeah, I don't think he can do it to the same level that he could have done even as a vice president. He probably would have been more effective as a vice president if the vice president had, half the powers of the president. In Obama's time, he would have gotten more done probably, because he could have really put his mind to things. But here we are. Would have been less controlled by ideology as well. The left are very ideology controlled, and I don't like that. That's that's what I'm saying about common sense. They're very ideology controlled. The right, not so much. At least not the softer right. And there he is. 25 more minutes. Unless he's just going to take. I mean, clearly he's not going to take the oath of office now.